The applicants have welcomed the Grahamstown High Court decision to seize Shell seismic blasting along South Africa's wild coast in the Eastern Cape. Judge Gerald Bloem has also ordered BG International and Minister Gwede Mantashe's Minerals and Energy Department to pay for the applicants' legal costs. In his judgment, Judge Gerald Bloem stated that despite the massive body of expert evidence on the threat to harm to marine life, Shell did not provide any evidence to neutralize the representations made by the applicants. The applicants were concerned about the impact of the blasting on the ocean and the economy of the town. They argued that numerous leading experts confirm that the seismic blasts will cause significant and irreparable harm to marine life. For more on this, we're now joined via Zoom by Shell SA's country chair, Hloniphizwe Mtolo. A very good afternoon to you, and thanks very much for joining us here on SABC News, sir.
Thank you for having us. Thank you to you and your listeners.
Your reaction to the court ordering Shell to immediately seize the seismic blasting activity planned? You can't be too happy about that judgment.
No, definitely we're not happy. It is a disappointment that this judgment has come out the way it has. However, we will abide by it. At this stage, we are reviewing the judgment and making decisions in terms of how to take things forward.
Why do you believe there's, so much resistance when, I heard Minister Gwede Mantashe saying that these sort of explorations have indeed happened before. In fact, there's been five others. Why do you believe this one in particular is creating so much resistance and so much pushback from communities and certainly some of these groups that have been fighting Shell?
It's very difficult to really pinpoint the reason why the pushback exists. The only thing that we can think of is that somebody looked at this and identified it as a threat and then brought in a lot of public awareness to it, much more than it has happened in the past. So that's the only thing that we can think of, because as you have indicated, there has been other investigations or seismic activity that's happened in the past with absolutely no evidence that there is negative or harm to the environment at this stage.
Well, you say without evidence, but let's talk about these leading experts who were on the side of the applicants, who indicated that your plans of blasting or exploration have the potential, in fact, to cause significant and irreparable harm to marine life. Are you not, as Shell, bothered or moved by such statements?
No, not at all, because, as you have indicated yourself, that these surveys have happened in the past in South Africa. Thousands of these surveys have happened across the globe. There's a lot of research that's gone into this. I mean, this is something that's been done over the past 50 years. And in the last 15 years, there's been extensive research. And the research has focused primarily on what mitigation measures are implemented to make sure that there is no damage to marine life. Yeah. A lot of the people that have spoken out on this have rather used the assertion that it might, not that it has. There is no evidence that it has done this in the past, but we also on our side have 50 years of history where we are saying that it does not.
Yeah, let's maybe take a step back and perhaps for the benefit of our viewers, let's actually talk about what Shell is doing there. What is the research? What is the seismic activity for? What is the blasting for? What is the exploration for? Perhaps if you can explain in layman's terms what all of this is for, because what we've heard is that Shell has already invested so much money in this project and Shell can't lose money from that, and of course these groups that are anti what Shell is doing don't care about the amount of money that you're losing, frankly speaking. So maybe you can explain what exactly is this all for, and maybe even why this particular area for the operation in the first place.
Thank you. So I think that's a very helpful question, because even as I listen to you, the language that gets used, it's very inflammatory, because it's being called blasting, it's been called exploration. What it is actually use of sound. It's acoustic sound imaging that is get used. So what it is that gets done is the seismic survey, and the use of seismic surveys is to actually image what is below the floor bed to understand if there are any hydrocarbons that are deposited below the seabed. The purpose of this is to make sure that if there are indeed natural deposits, could be hydrocarbons that could be below there, are they commercially viable, that these hydrocarbons can be extracted for the benefit of the country. So in our case, we are looking specifically to the possibility of having natural gas occurring below the seabed. If we can find natural gas happening below the seabed, it gives the country an opportunity that we can start having our own natural energy mix to support the energy needs of the country. Could be generation of electricity and many other things that need energy in the country. So it's a very, very important exercise that we are embarking on.
Yeah.
So the outcry has been largely about the safety of it. And we are assuring the public that it is very safe the way that we are conducting it.
You're not planning at any point to let it go, it seems to me. You're saying that you're taking this under review. I mean, the judgment was rather scathing in that in the end they even said you'd had to pay the costs for the applicants, and no doubt Shell has those kinds of deep pockets to be able to do so. So will you carry on with this until the end? Because it also doesn't seem as though those who are wanting to stop Shell from proceeding are wanting to give up. So is there any possibility that Shell could find, other sources, other places to perhaps make these sort of explorations or research, as you call it?
I think the important thing here is to actually acknowledge that there's been two court cases that have taken place.
Yeah.
The first one, the judge found in our favor, and this one, the judge has found against us. And these two court cases are important for us to really sit back and look at them. What do they tell us? It is not something that we will take lightly in terms of just forging ahead, and it is not something that we will take lightly in terms of just walking away. As we have said, there's a lot of investment that is going into this, that continues to go into this project, because we believe in it and we believe in its importance. So what we are doing and what we will be doing is to engage a lot more with the affected communities to see if we can find each other in terms of the way forward. It's something that we believe that it is a huge benefit to South Africa and its people.
Mr. Mtolo, you talk about not taking this lightly and just forging ahead. Perhaps then you can explain to us, when something this sort of activity happens, when something big like this happens, there's always some sort of planning that goes on behind the scenes, and maybe you can talk to us about the sort of protocol that would be followed before, and I hate to use the words that you've said, you've got a problem with the word, with this blasting before it begins. Let's talk about the processes, and you've included the sort of consultations with the relevant stakeholders, but I'm talking about the actual work that before it begins.
Well, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scene when something like this happens. I mean, this started around 2013 with the required authorizations that needed to be obtained. So that's gone on from 2013 to up to today. In 2020, there was an audit on the authorizations with independent third parties that have really gone into this to just check that are we following all the necessary guidelines that are required from a regulation point of view, but also in terms of, as you say, there's a lot of planning that goes into this. I mean, we have 3 vessels. We've got the main vessels and 2 other vessels that are actually on site that needs to make sure that this happens. So when we do this, we do a lot of scenario planning in terms of what we are doing and what are the mitigations that we need to make sure that are in place. So there's a lot of thinking, a lot of planning. We've got a lot of experts on board the vessels, that are actually doing the monitoring and advising in terms of how do we conduct this in the safest possible manner.
All right. Thanks very much for giving us your reaction then, and for giving us your time here on SABC News. Mr. Mtolo, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
All right, there's Hloniphizwe Mtolo, who is Shell SA's country chair, giving us reaction to the court ordering that Shell immediately cease the seismic blasting activity planned.